You finally get a clean laser cut. The edge looks right, the engraving is sharp, and you promise yourself, I'll record these settings before I move on. 3 weeks later, the same material is on the bed, the project is due, and the settings are gone. Was it 60% power or 70? 1 pass or 2? Which plywood supplier was that? This is the calibration gap, the space between discovering what works and being able to repeat it. And for a maker, that gap can mean wasted material, wasted machine time, and another round of trial and error. Welcome to KDP Low Competition Niches Daily. I'm Aria Pride, and today we're testing whether that calibration gap can become a useful book, not just another blank journal. We'll develop 2 concepts, examine the evidence worth collecting, use AI to turn complaints into page ideas, and run the numbers without pretending that a search result is a royalty statement. The goal is simple. Leave with a product hypothesis strong enough to test and enough discipline to reject it if the evidence is weak. Here's your daily edge. The first opportunity is a laser project planner. Think of it as the maker's record for one complete job, from the first idea to the finished piece. The opening spread can capture the project purpose, dimensions, design file name, version number, desired finish, and whether the work is personal or for a customer. A second area can track substrate, thickness, sheet price, hardware, adhesive, packaging, estimated material use, and time spent. That labor field is important. A hobbyist who becomes a seller needs to know more than what left the bank account. They need to know what the project actually costs. The book earns its place in the settings spread. A maker should be able to look at one page and answer, what changed between the failed cut and the clean one? Give them equipment and lens notes, material source, thickness, focus method, air assist status, speed, power, frequency where relevant, number of passes, and masking or finishing details. Afterward, ask what happened. Was the edge too dark? Did small details disappear? Did the parts fit? Was the waste acceptable? A final scorecard for appearance, repeatability, production time, waste, and customer readiness turns a blank page into a repeatable learning system. The second opportunity is narrower, a material test grid log. That narrower promise may actually make the product easier to understand. At the top of a spread, the user records the substrate, thickness, supplier, product identifier, date, and storage notes. Below that, a controlled grid compares speed, power, passes, and result quality. The maker can score cut-through, edge appearance, smoke staining, engraving contrast, warping, and cleanup effort. Leave room for a sample sketch or a reference to where the physical test piece is stored. The book is not telling the reader which setting is universally correct. It is helping that reader build a personal reference library.
Here's the differentiation test. If the interior only records numbers, why wouldn't a maker use a spreadsheet? Your paper product needs a paper-native advantage, a quick form beside the machine, a physical sample reference, a guided comparison, or a layout that makes revision easier than opening a laptop with dusty hands. Sophisticated buyers will notice whether the terminology reflects real work. They will also notice whether the pages are too cramped, too empty, or built around settings that only make sense for one machine. Keep every technical field equipment agnostic and direct users to manufacturer guidance and safe operating procedures. Documentation is not a substitute for safety instructions.
Now, validate the language before designing a cover. Search Amazon autocomplete for phrases such as laser cutter planner, laser engraving log, laser settings notebook, material test log, and laser project journal. Record the suggestions exactly as shown, along with the date and marketplace. The honest observation here is not a made-up sales figure. It is whether the platform repeatedly connects your seed phrase with related tasks, materials, or settings. Then inspect the first page. Count the closely relevant titles. Note the range of review counts, and judge the interiors. A low result count is not automatically opportunity. It can also mean weak demand or an overly narrow phrase. For each relevant competitor, record title, subtitle, format, trim size, page count, price, publication date, rating count, review count, and the promise made on the cover. Then look for patterns. Are several books broad craft journals using a few laser keywords? Are the strongest interiors genuinely structured? Do reviews repeatedly mention small writing areas, missing fields, weak paper, or terminology that does not match the buyer's workflow? A competitor with many reviews is evidence of attention, not proof of current sales velocity. A competitor with few reviews is not proof of failure. You are mapping expectations, friction, and gaps you can actually solve.
This is where AI can save research time, but only when you supply real evidence. Use this prompt. Analyze these permitted customer reviews and buyer comments. Cluster repeated complaints, desired features, confusing terms, and comments about writing space. Quote short phrases, count how often each theme appears, and separate direct evidence from interpretation. Then ask, turn the 3 strongest recurring workflow problems into page concepts. For each one, name the decision it supports, the required fields, and one way the layout could fail. Suppose 5 comments complain that settings pages are cramped. The useful answer is not simply add more space. It might be one large settings record, a compact revision box, and a separate results scorecard. AI should generate possibilities and challenge assumptions. You still verify the source material and the design.
You can also ask AI to audit the idea against 5 risks: audience size, terminology mismatch, competitor quality, interior usefulness, and discoverability. For each risk, require one test you can complete today. A good result may tell you to narrow the audience, change the title, or abandon the concept. That is a professional outcome. It is cheaper to reject a weak book before production than to revise a confusing interior after publication. Data doesn't lie, but a confident interpretation built on thin data can still mislead you. Let's make the economics concrete without making promises. Imagine a paperback priced at $24.99. Depending on trim size, page count, ink coverage, marketplace, and current KDP terms, an illustrative calculation might leave $8 per copy before advertising and other expenses. 10 copies would then represent about $80 of royalty contribution in that scenario. If your research, design, and revisions cost $200, a simple $8 contribution suggests 25 copies to recover that amount. Real break-even changes with ads, taxes, refunds, revisions, and production costs. Verify the current KDP calculator and your own specifications. These figures are planning assumptions, not forecasts. The 2 books could become a product family, but only if each serves different intent. The planner helps organize a complete project. The test log helps compare materials and settings. A bundle is worthwhile only when it adds convenience, not when it repeats pages to inflate the count. Before publishing, ask a real maker to complete a sample spread. Print the interior, write on it with the tools a customer would use. Check margins, binding space, contrast, repeated elements, and whether the page survives workshop handling. Technical buyers can accept a narrow product. They will not forgive a book that sounds specialized and feels empty. You can run the first validation sprint in 45 minutes. Spend 10 minutes collecting exact autocomplete phrases. Spend 10 more scoring the first page of relevant competitors for review depth, specificity, and interior quality. Use another 10 to extract repeated complaints from reviews or adjacent maker discussions. Sketch 10 sample spreads, 5 for each concept, in the next 10 minutes. Use the final 5 to answer 4 questions. Who is the buyer? What recurring workflow problem do they have? Which page solves it? What evidence supports the keyword? If you cannot answer clearly, pause the project. Hidden gem niches are rarely magical. They are ordinary problems described precisely enough for the right buyer to recognize. So the opportunity is not simply a laser journal. One angle helps makers plan, cost, record, revise, and evaluate projects. The other helps them compare materials in a repeatable way. If you want help turning that research into a publication-ready direction, explore my custom niche report and validation services. I can help with keyword discovery, competitor analysis, review-derived workflow insights, differentiated medium content concepts, positioning, and an ethical profit potential framework. Then apply the method yourself. Collect the language, inspect the competition, prototype the pages, test the workflow, and make the economics explicit. Publish smarter, profit faster. That's your actionable niche for today. Apply it and watch your author business grow. See you tomorrow.